This is what I wanted to talk about today. This shit's hilarious, all right? Hilarious. All right. Republican Congresswoman broke down in tears, begging her colleagues to vote against a same-sex marriage bill. The issue I have with this, and this is something we're going to talk about as we go through it, is that the bill talks about interracial marriage, too. This is the Respect for Marriage Act that got passed, right? And it has same-sex and interracial marriage, right? And people keep talking about it like it's a gay bill, but it's not just a pro-gay marriage bill. It's a pro miscegenation bill too, which is, yeah, it's nasty. Oof. Yowza. That's nasty. Sorry, my guy. I think I know the Austrian man you're talking about, but you know, I guess I won't know for certain since you're not able to show him. Oh shit. All right, so they keep pushing this, right? This shit's hilarious. This Republican Congresswoman crying because same-sex marriage bill is going to be passed. Like I said, it's not just same-sex marriage. It is also like interracial marriage, right? So if we look at this, this is so fucking funny, dude. All right. GOP representative Vicky Hartzler of Missouri broke down crying on the House floor on Thursday as she begged her colleagues to vote against the bipartisan bill aimed at protecting same-sex marriage, the Respect for Marriage Act. I hope and pray that my colleagues will find the courage to join me in opposing this misguided and dangerous bill, she said through tears. Hartzler spent the first 2 minutes of her speech bashing the bill, claiming its only purpose is to hand the federal government a legal bludgeoning tool to drive people of faith out of the public square and silence anyone who dissents. Which we'll get into the bill. I'm going to read the bill on stream because it's fucking hilarious. Hartzler says her priority is protecting people who believe in the true meaning of marriage, and then starts to cry while she asks for her colleagues to vote against marriage equality. I'm gonna play the clip. Okay, short, we'll finish this out. Respect for Marriage Act requires states to recognize any marriage made in any other states and repeals the Federal Defense of Marriage Act, which previously defined marriage as between a man and a woman. Hartzler further called the bill unnecessary and said that the Obergefell is not in danger, which is it says a reference to the Supreme Court's ruling in Obergefell versus Hodges case in 2015, requires all states to recognize same-sex marriages and issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. In Justice Clarence Thomas's opinion in the Supreme Court's Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization from 2022, he called for the High Court to reconsider several Supreme Court rulings that were made using the Due Process Clause, which includes the Obergefell ruling. So, yeah, that's why the our Congress decided to ensure that it's legislated in bill form, is because without that, the Supreme Court could, in theory, overturn that particular case and then remove same-sex marriage, and then no state would have to legally recognize that you're married. Following his opinion in the Supreme Court's reversal of the nation's abortion protections granted in the famous Roe v. Wade case, Democrats labored to enshrine same-sex marriage protections in law. This is not Hartzler's first time fighting against the expansion of marriage protections, as the Kansas City Star first noted prior to her time in Congress. Hartzler vehemently pushed for an amendment to be added to Missouri's constitution that would define marriage as between a man and a woman. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. The thing that's funny to me, too, is they always use religious reasoning for this, not realizing that marriage existed before Christianity did, before Jesus did. Like, marriage has been around longer, my guy. I'm sorry, but it's just true. Hartzler, who's been in Congress since 2011, will not be returning in 2023 after losing her campaign for an open seat. Oh, get shitted on, kid. Representative Hartzler's office did not respond to insiders' request for comment. All right, let's watch the clip.
Mr. Speaker, I'll tell you my priority. Protect religious liberty.
I love it.
People of faith, and protect Americans who believe in the true meaning of marriage. I hope and pray that my colleagues will find the courage to join me in opposing this misguided and this dangerous bill. And I yield back.
Gentlewoman's time has expired.
Oh, shit. Okay. So now that we've seen it, all right, are you guys ready? Now that we've seen it, let's read it, okay? Let's read the bill. Come on. Let's read the bill. All right? Watch this dangerous bill. To repeal the Defense Against Marriage Act and ensure for respect for state regulation of marriage and for other purposes, being enacted by the Senate and the House of Representatives, United States of America, and Congress assembled. All right, short title. This act may be cited as the Respect for Marriage Act. That just means that you don't have to call it HR 8404. You can call it the Respect for Marriage. Congress finds the following. No union is more profound than marriage, for it embodies the highest ideals of love, fidelity, devotion, sacrifice, and family. So already we're appealing to the same values that Christians would, right? Diverse beliefs about the role of gender in marriage are held by reasonable and sincere people based on decent and honorable religious or philosophical premises. Therefore, Congress affirms that such people and their diverse beliefs are due proper respect. That's a pretty straightforward thing, right? Millions of people, including interracial and same-sex couples, right? Interracial being in there, have entered into marriages and have enjoyed the rights and privileges associated with marriage. Couples joining in marriage deserve to have the dignity, stability, and ongoing protection that marriage affords to families and children. This is them repealing the Defense of Marriage Acts. Just says straight up, it is repealed. Full faith and credit given to marriage equality. Chapter 115 of Title 28. It's amended by this, further amended by inserting, after whatever section this is in the bill, we could find it in the actual writing, the following. Senate, U.S. Bill 1738C, certain acts, records, and proceedings, and the effect thereof. In general, no person acting under color of state law may deny 1. Full faith and credit to any public act, record, or judicial proceeding of any state pertaining to a marriage between two individuals on the basis of the sex, race, ethnicity, or national origin of those individuals, or 2. A right or claim arising from such marriage on the basis that such marriage would not be recognized under the law of that state on the basis of sex, race, ethnicity, and national origin of the individuals. Enforcement by the Attorney General. The Attorney General may bring a civil action in the appropriate United States District Court against any person who violates Section A. Private right of action. Any person who is harmed by a violation of subsection A may bring civil action in the appropriate United States District Court against the person who violated such subsection for declaratory and injunctive relief. In this section, the term state has the meaning given in Section 7 of Title 1, right? Then we got marriage recognition. Section 7 of Title 1 is amended to read as follows. Section 7. For the purposes of any federal law, rule, or regulation in which marital status is a factor, an individual shall be considered married if that individual's marriage is between two individuals and is valid in the state where the marriage was entered into, or in the case of marriage entered into outside of any state, if the marriage is between two individuals and is valid in the place where entered into marriage and could have been entered into a state. That's pretty straightforward. As long as the state recognizes it, you're fine. Ooh. In this section, the term state means a state, the District of Columbia, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, or any other territory possession outside or possession of the U.S. For purposes of subsection A and determining whether a marriage is valid in a state or the place where entered into, if outside of any state, only the law of the jurisdiction applicable at the time of the marriage was entered into may be considered. So if it takes place outside of any of those states, it is legally recognized as long as it's legally recognized by whatever territory exists outside of the state. Impact on religious liberty and conscience. In general, nothing in this act or any amendment made by this act shall be construed to diminish or abrogate a religious liberty or conscience protection otherwise available to an individual or organization under the Constitution of the U.S. federal law. Goods or services. Consistent with the First Amendment to the Constitution, nonprofit religious organizations, including churches, mosques, synagogues, temples, non-denominational ministries, interdenominational, and ecumenical organizations, mission organizations, faith-based social agencies, religious educational institutions, and nonprofit entities whose principal purpose is to study, practice, or advancement of religion, and any employee of such organization shall not be required to provide services, accommodations, advantages, facilities, goods, or privileges for the solemnization or celebration of a marriage. They do not have to recognize you in your church. No church has to marry you. They only have to recognize that you're legally married. No one has to marry you. No religious person will ever have to marry someone that they disagree with. If they think black and white people don't deserve to be married, they can say that and say, go get it done somewhere else. And that technically is fine because they are an employment of a faith-based organization. So that is in section B, right? Any refusal under this subsection to provide such services, accommodations, advantages, facilities, or goods shall not create any civil claim or cause of action. This protects religious people. It protects them entirely. They can be like, nah, I think that gay people are disgusting, they're trash, and they need to go fuck off. All right, get out of my denomination. And there's nothing you can do about it, right? And fine, dude, fine. Just shut the fuck up about it now. Can we do that? All right, let gay people exist and be married, okay? Don't marry them yourself. Don't let them in your congregation if you don't want them there. That's fine. Just fuck off. Statutory prohibition. No impact on status and benefits not arising from marriage. Nothing in this act or any amendment made by this act shall be construed to deny or alter any benefit, status, or right of an otherwise eligible entity or person which does not arise from a marriage, including tax-exempt status, tax treatment, educational funding, or a grant, contract, agreement, guarantee, loan, scholarship, license, certification, accreditation claim, or defense. So if it has nothing to do with marriage, it has nothing to do with this bill. No federal recognition of polygamous marriages. Nothing in this act or any amendment made by this act shall be construed to require or authorize federal recognition of marriages between more than two individuals. So they've stopped you from, like, they put in there polygamy, no, even though one of the people that argued for this argued that the next thing is going to be having, like, polygamous marriages, and then what about marriages to dogs or inanimate objects? It never stops. First we let white people marry black people, next you're gonna see dogs and race cars getting married. What is this? Unironically, that's the argument that Congress people that voted against this put forward. Like, oof, dumb motherfuckers. If any provision of this act or any amendment made by this act or the application of such provision to any person, entity, government, or circumstance is held to be unconstitutional, the remainder of this act or any amendment made thereby or the application of such provision to all other persons, entities, governments, or circumstances shall not be affected thereby. So only whatever provisions are deemed to be unconstitutional can then be overturned. Nothing else in the act is. So if it turns out that the goods or services part that says, like, you don't have to marry gay people if you don't want them to, like, that can be overturned, but only that section will be overturned. It won't overturn the whole bill. Each section will have to be taken apart bit by bit. So that's the bill. The bill just says, like, you can get married. Nobody has to marry you or has to like you. And religious people can still turn you away from their congregation simply because you're gay, but now you're allowed to be married. So yeah, and this woman was in tears. And like I said, I think the trick, right, for Democrats should not be to pitch this as the same-sex marriage thing. It should be to really focus in, I think personally, on the interracial part, right? Because if you look, race, sex or race, meaning if this bill didn't pass, in theory, we could have gotten rid of all of our miscegenation protection, and we could have went back to a time when whites were only allowed to marry whites and black people were only allowed to marry black people, and that was it, right? No race mixing. And that's pretty fucking wild. And that's how I'd pitch it, man. I'd be pitching it like that. I wouldn't be pitching it as like a gay marriage thing.